Father God, we turn our hearts to you this morning. We're mindful of county business before us, and we pray for wisdom that we can make proper and wise decisions based on you. And thankful for our country, the freedoms we enjoy, the people that protect us, watch over them, and keep them safe. In all our ways, may we give you the praise, and we thank you in Christ's risen name. Pray in Christ's name, amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item of business, the meetings from our March 15th meeting. Any alterations, corrections, no annotation, entertain a motion for the minutes.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, we have two payrolls, number 6 and number 7. Number 6 was $249,888.63. Payroll 7 was $242,784.58. We have 286 claims totaling $444,018.90. Okay, motion for the financials.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0. Okay. Scott, I have you next.
Morning.
Good morning.
As of this morning, we have 73 inmates in jail. 28 of those are pretrial superior, 22 are pretrial circuit, 11 F6, and 5 DOC. The only other thing I got to report, just to kind of give you guys a heads up, Amoresco and Elevatus have been meeting pretty regular with us, kind of to button up the details on the energy study stuff as far as the roof and HVAC stuff, as well as the renovation project that was presented previously. So they're buttoning up things. From what I understand, they're hoping a goal of being able to present to you guys and council at the May, first meeting in May. So you guys are...
And we have a meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, we have another meeting
for a
tomorrow.
walkthrough.
Yep. So, other than that, I don't have anything else to report.
Okay. See you tomorrow.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. Bids for live timbers. Okay. I'll just make a brief statement. Within the last 10 days, our highway superintendent, we put in on an interim basis, requested that he step down and go back to his normal routine. We are willing to accommodate that, so Kim will be back at a foreman position, and we're going to be looking for a replacement here in the near future, so we'll update you as we get more details.
Thank you. I got a short report on some of the highway items from Kim as far as what they're doing as well. But regarding the bituminous bids, we have 3 bids received. First bid I'm going to go ahead and open up is from Marathon Petroleum Company out of Indianapolis. Non-collusion affidavit. Looks like a bid bond. Let's see. Attorney. All right. Looks like they've got a bid number here from the AE90 for $1.479 per gallon, or $355.63 per ton. Second bid is from Clink Group. inclusion affidavit. Bid bond is included. All right, I'll just read off the 8090. The 8090 number here is for $1.57 per gallon. And then the last bid is from Asphalt Materials out of Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm trying to put it on the mic with this tearing. Alright. Asphalt Materials are signed on inclusion affidavit. Bid bond is included. I think I got a copy as well. Number for the 8090 is for $1.61.9 per gallon. 1.619. And I got another bid for another 8090. That was 8090S. 8090 is for $1.459 per gallon, or $350.16 per ton from Asphalt Materials. So what I'd ask is just for a recommendation to take these under advisement, and then we can make a determination on these once Royce has a chance to look at the documents.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
Thank you very much. Just a quick update from the Highway Department. They're planning, right now they're working on some of the road patching. They're about complete placing the township stone. I was looking at some of the numbers. I think about 4 or 5 of the townships were finishing up last week. They're going through the tickets, making sure that we put all the stone on the gravel roads. I started doing pacer ratings myself last week, and I was really impressed with some of the county gravel roads in the rating. There's not nearly the potholes that we saw. That may be just due to the fact that we're doing a lot of the patching work, but it may be that we've been putting quite a bit more money into the gravel roads over the last few years. Plan would be to try to move crews over into the roadside patching prior to the chip seal this year. Kim had mentioned to me that they are planning on going to their 410 schedule starting May 3rd, so the first full week in May, switch to their 410 schedule. So, wanted to make you aware of that. Now, move on to the signature parade. I hate to say, I've got quite a few documents there for you today. First item I have for you is a Community Crossings matching grant. This is the Bridge 121 and Guardrail Extension contract. I am recommending signing the construction contract with R.G. Zachridge for the base bid amount of $408,215.23. I need to have that agreement to send over to INDOT so we can get the money set aside. They're not planning on starting the work right now. It's really going to be a fall work project or even early spring next year. But I need to have the agreement signed to make sure that we keep the grant money that we were awarded for this project. So it's an INDOT scheduling thing that's pushing us now. So.
Is this a DocuSign type of
Nope,
document agreement?
this is just between us and the contractor. So it's one of the documents to your right. We can go through and actually sign them later. I just need to make sure that we approve signing that agreement.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
All right. Bridge 106, right-of-way services contract. This is one of our federal aid projects. I am recommending approval of the INDOT, or not INDOT, it's the LPA, or Wells County and Consultant contract for right-of-way services for the project. Total services are set at $14,500 for this phase of the project. It's actually step 4 of 12. And I pointed that out because it seems frustrating because it's going to take a while before we actually get to starting that work. I actually highlighted on this form. This is a little checklist from INDOT we got to follow as we try to unlock those funds. But it's our agreement between USI and Wells County for that phase. So it's not a DocuSign document. I'm recommending approval on that agreement. And then I'll proceed to work through another agreement with INDOT and Wells County. And so we'll talk about it for a couple months moving forward.
14,000.
14,500. Yep.
So moved.
Second. Motion second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
Next item is Bridge 54. We're recommending approval on 2 design exemptions. These are just areas where we're going to depart from the INDOT standard design criteria. And since it's federal aid, and the USI is asking based on just concern approval of those design exceptions. What it is, they're 2 related issues. One is a site distance, and the other one is related to the shy line. That's the distance from the edge of the pavement line and the edge of the guardrail. The way the bridge project's going to work, since we're using the existing abutment on part of the project, it's going to keep the guardrail fairly tight to the edge of the road. Not any different than it is today. But because that current conditions doesn't meet the existing design criteria, I'm going to have to ask for exemptions of those two areas from the site distance and guardrail offset. If we don't do those design exemptions, we have to replace one of the abutments. That's probably about a $900,000 add to the project. So it's sort of a foregone conclusion we really need to do that. I'm just recommending approval of those two design exceptions, 1 and 2, for Bridge 54. So, and there's a little descriptions there on your notes.
I'd make that motion to approve of that request.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thanks very much. Item I have here is RQAW had sent me a proposal. I think you all have seen that. It's part of the agreement regarding design and criteria development services for our highway garage facility. I just wanted to bring that up to you as part of our ongoing effort to move forward with our highway facility. I know that geotech services are underway. I don't have that final lab report at this time, but I know there's been interest in trying to move the design forward and how we would move forward on the project. I actually have Josh Goodman here as well in attendance if there are any questions about that. I wasn't sure if you wanted to make any recommendations for movement on this at this time, but I certainly wanted to.
Question I have, is this for the amount on the contract, is that just to get a set of prints finally, Josh? Finally? Or?
So the amount of 40,000 is for, essentially what this is, there's two phases in this, A and B respectively. And A being, let me back up, for a design build in the public entity, you have to have a design criteria developer, who basically gets you to essentially, say roughly a 30% set of plans and some stipulations as far as, and that's what goes out to the design build teams to come back and put their proposals on. This 40,000 gets you to that, so from this point to you being under contract with the design builder. The second phase, B, which is not listed because we needed to discuss and see just how much, I'm trying to think of a good word, how much involvement the county would need from RQAW, is basically acting as kind of a quasi-owner's rep throughout the design builders, design phases, and the construction phases, being on site, inspecting the work, making sure what they're doing is what the counties want and what the county paid for.
So B would be more of a CM,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay,
And that's
construction management.
And that,
type.
and that's
Right.
not included in.
Right, okay, so that's separated out.
Yep.
And that's only if you wanted to pursue with RQAW.
Right.
And that. Nothing in this locks you into that with us.
I mentioned, Nate this morning, the proposal in December was 25 and now it's 40, but just the scope of work has changed.
Correct.
So just briefly describe the difference.
Well, there's more paperwork and process you need to follow for this, and this first, obviously, a 30% phase. And I would also like to mention that I'm not an architect for the company, so don't stone me. That's a good question you have. I may not have the answer, but I can get it to you. But there's just more work involved in this, early on in this project, because I believe originally, that's been pre-COVID, is how I usually tell the time now. That was basically just a 25 or 30% phase where you get plans to that. For design criteria, you have to have that, also a lot of stipulations and specifications of like different materials that can be used for the project, and then create more forms, and there's more work on the selection process for the design builder themselves, because I believe, I'm not overly familiar, because this would be my first time going through it, that there's a couple sections when you're doing design build that you have to go out for an RFQ at first and an RFP, or vice versa. So there's a couple different, there's more steps to the process, essentially.
Essentially, with the criteria developer, they're developing the specifications for the performance of the project, long range. So besides just some drawings or kind of show aerial views of the project and what we're hoping to see in the finish, there's going to be a set of specifications. So you could go out for design build contract, go straight out to bid for that, or the RF, request for qualifications. So you could very well at that point be able to move forward with that. If the decision is in the midst of that process to not go design build, then we would, one, kind of stop that process, look at either modifying and adding an additional agreement with RQW to do a more traditional design bid build, or design bid build with a CM at risk. There's possibilities that can be done, but I think for a lack of knowing how we want to perform the project and construction, we need to get that 40% design kind of together so that we can get better design estimates. Or
Which is what we're talking about
So-
today.
Correct.
So that
Yep.
30% will give us a set of plans that will be able to go to any builder, and they can bid on a project.
You could do a design build project with that.
I mean, with
Yep.
what they're gonna present to us for this 40 grand, we can give it to XYZ company, and
Well, you'll have to, there'll be a process of how those companies will have it, but I guess, for example, this would be something very similar for, I'll just name some contractors, Wygan, Briner, Hagerman, and those are some of the big local firms that would be in a position to do design build contracts. I think RQW has done that before, but by bringing them in as your rep, they're essentially going to be your project managers to make sure that whatever is done per your expectations. And this criteria development is those expectations.
So let me throw you a curveball.
Go for it.
So, through the course of all this talking that we've done over the course of a year, there's been numerous discussions about, working with other individuals like the 3Ps, the private partnership type stuff, where, in fact, there are individuals out there that would like to possibly fund a project and we lease from them,
Sure.
which keeps us away from bonding, et cetera. It keeps moving forward. And I know that is appealing to some. Expand on that a little bit, how, if you could, Nate or Josh.
You want to field that one?
Well, yeah, and I believe the term that you hear a lot is build, operate, transfer, BOT, and I believe we actually may have in
Right.
the past have discussed that briefly with you all at one point. And as if every delivery method, there's pros and cons to everything. And if there's still uncertainty, by no means, not that you would, don't sign this if you're not sure. We can do some sort of executive session with you all where we can bring in some of our architects and have you three here at one time and kind of roll through all of those and see exactly what may or may not fit you all best. We came up with this design build criteria based on some recent conversations with Nate that he believed that the county was kind of moving that way. So we just kind of adapted some stuff that we put together previously.
And from the standpoint of this design build option, one of the options that you can put in as part of the criteria is the option for a lease back from the contractor. So you can put different packages together saying, okay, we want this facility, this square footage, this many bays. I mean, it can go down to what sort of faucets you want or how many feet you want from an office to a restroom. You can get very bizarre with your requests. And one of the options for scoring can be, okay, here's the finished price, or here's a payment per year that the county is willing to cover, and we're asking the contractor to finance it. Now, the risk is that the contractor that may have the lowest bid may not be able to have the amount of backing financially to cash flow a multi-million-dollar project. So you might be limiting some of the competition from putting a good number together. So you might want to have that as an option within that, but that's still within this a possibility. The build, operate, transfer has a different starting point than maybe the design build aspect does, but we want to try to get a design up to the 30%, I think, to satisfy questions that council has.
Okay.
And that this would allow that, and there's nothing really locking us into the final direction until we finish that
Sure.
piece.
So
there's going to be a step's going to have to happen after that 30%.
So with the BOT, and that would be something that individual would maybe design for us,
Correct.
would the fees be less?
For,
Like your Schedule A, let's just say, I'm just throwing that out.
No, the design fees essentially are kind of, the full design fees are going to be held off for later on. This is kind of anticipating, do the 40,000, gets you the 30% design, very schematic design, but you've got a fairly robust set of specifications about
Right.
project expectations. But it's essentially a 5 or 6 page document of our needs that go beyond what's just in the plan set.
Right.
And then that goes out to contractors that would be putting together proposals saying they want to finish the design, the remaining 70%.
I gotcha.
And how are they going to make this cost effective for them? So they do the final design and they're going to put a dollar amount to what they're going to build your project for.
So basically, what we're looking at here with you, Josh, is like, in a sense, a jump start to a set of finalized plans to whoever that may be.
yes.
Correct. And by them signing this agreement, they go onto our side of the table. They become an owner's rep.
Right.
They're not just a consultant
Right,
designing for
right.
themselves. They're now taking the risk of saying they're going to be our partner in the project, and we definitely need to have that.
You presented to commissioners and council, we talked about BOT about a year ago. The Commissioners passed about the BOT ordinance. Not that they were committed to it, but to be able to use that as a tool, you had to have an ordinance. So the ordinance is in place, but my recollection of the discussion at the time was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what we're talking about now is a criterion that they would use if you went to a BOT to request proposals.
Yes.
They would be looking at that. Correct me if I'm wrong, the criterion can include some things such as a preference for local contractors. Is that correct?
I'm going to go on the record as maybe
Maybe?
on that one.
Okay.
I believe you're correct, but I,
Well, I mean, it's like you put together what criterion you want and you intend to judge by.
right. Yes, you're setting the criteria essentially, so, yeah.
Well, it might not be a local contractor, but hire local labor or use local subs.
Right. Yeah. As long as it's efficient, feasible for the county itself. I mean, everybody, I think everybody always wants to use local people, but sometimes local.
Well, all things being equal,
Yeah.
within
Gives you opportunity if there is an
Right.
opportunity. That's the key.
Yeah.
Correct. It puts a premium on that if that's what is decided by the county. And then it's also very open and apparent what the cost impacts of something like that is. So you'll see that very much in the bidding. You want to definitely try to use taxpayers' funds appropriately, and so you don't want to overpay for something like that, but certainly I think we've got the contractors and the labor within the area certainly to meet a project like this. So.
If we did this, give us a time frame of when we would have a set of plans where it would be able to go out, so.
Yeah, well, based on this, if you were going with, if you wanted to go all the way with the design build, and to get you to that point where you are searching for proposals from the design build team, it'd be approximately 60 days or less from the time you sign.
From the time we sign or the time you guys come get our information from the committee we put together, so you know what to put together.
That's why it's 60 days from the time we sign, because we know there's going to be some scheduling issues in there, because, I mean, everybody's busy, right? I mean, you all have, this isn't your only jobs, and there's going to be probably more people involved.
And the RFQ process, or request for qualifications process, when it goes out to contractors, that's going to be weeks long. So we're really trying to expedite this, and then you're trying to go out to contractors and developers that are going to fund the project. And that may, I think, based on the size of the project, it depends on how many stages you have to do per state law and how many weeks between each phase. Even at the largest, you're still talking about 2 phases and probably at minimum probably 12 to 16 weeks, depending on advertisements and the availability.
Yeah.
So now that's significantly condensed from a typical design bid build procedure. And you'll have your number very early in the process, but if you're in a hurry to try to get some things done, this has some benefits from timing that maybe a design build or design bid build scenario would. So that's why I thought that would be something that would fit in well with our planning. And still, the opportunity of doing build, operate, transfer, or a CM at risk. At 30% at 60 days, we decide that we want to go a different direction, and we're not satisfied with that, or if we get feedback that that's not the direction the county wants to go, we can pivot, and we'll have a 30% design set with a good set of specs as far as what we want to see in a project. It gets the team together to kind of make some decisions.
So with the combination of you and Blake going out and looking at these buildings, I mean, you guys feel pretty comfortable with what kind of the design, or is there changes
Like I said,
that?
I went to Randolph County, Lake County, went to Miami County, and